Hello, I'm Mike Evans and I run an internet radio station called unsignеdradio.co.uk, which we specialise in playing tracks from unsigned and independent acts from all over the world. I've been asked to give you some instant tips on the best way of approaching and sending your music to websites like mine. You probably all come across EPKs. You see that everywhere, EPKs. It stands for Electronic Press Kit. And it can sound a bit daunting, can't it? What the hell is an electronic press kit? Well, first of all, let's go back to what an analog press kit used to be like, because it'll give you a better idea of what you're trying to do. So back in the good old days, when the record companies used to promote their acts as singles, this is what they would send out as a press kit. First of all, there's a bit of music. They'd send a single out. This just happens to be Hey Joe by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And as well as that, there'd be a press release to tell you about it. And they would send a photo of the band, because this was to the press mainly, so it would they'd print it. And there'd be another piece of paper, probably supporting material. Anything else that didn't normally go on one sheet of A4, they'd stick on this. And this one happens to say Jimi Hendrix Experience, TV appearances and tour dates. So those are the things that would go out in a press kit. It's a misnomer that it's called press kit, because really the idea is a media kit. It should be suitable for any sort of media. And in fact, if you're sending stuff to radio, it is slightly different than if you're sending stuff to the press. So what you need to do is to put an electronic version together of what I've just shown you, and that's called an electronic press kit. So for your EPK, the first thing and the most important thing you're going to want to send out is your music. But you won't be sending it out in this. You'll be emailing out an MP3 file. Now, when I get this, I read it. It says, Jimi Hendrix Experience, Hey Joe. I know what it is. But what if I was sent this? This is what's known as a white label, for obvious reasons. These were sent out by record companies to promote new tracks. And the reason they were white labels is because they didn't have to pay royalties to the band. Now the thing is, the white labels usually came in an envelope with a bit of paper attached to tell you what it was. However, if that got separated, you wouldn't have a clue what this was. And in fact, I've no idea what it is. I played it, I don't recognise it. Now the main problem I get is that a lot of the tracks I receive are almost like white labels. The name of the file doesn't tell me what the song is. Whatever way you've done your music, before you send it out, you need to rename the file. And you rename the file artist name, song title. Artist name, song title. When I got this, I could tell what it was. It said Jimi Hendrix Experience, Hey Joe. When I got that, couldn't have a clue. And if you don't name your songs artist name, song title, they're going to get lost and never seen again, and you won't get them played. So if you pick anything up from this video, do that. Now, let's go to the photo that you send out. Basically, you're sending stuff to a radio station. So sending a photo of the band is not going to be much use, really, to be honest with you, because you can't hear photos on the radio. But what you do need to send is cover art, a square. If you've uploaded your music already to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, whatever, they would have asked you to supply cover art. And that's because when the music plays on the internet, a picture comes up and shows people what it is. And that's what happens on my radio station. So it's important that you send cover art. And again, please name your cover art properly. name it, artist name, song title. So I can marry up the cover art with a piece of music that's been sent. So next up, you got the press release. Now, this you've got to talk about the band and talk about your music. Don't talk about anything else, all right? And focus on what you've been sending them. So talk about the band, where you're from, list of the band members, give them a name check, about the history of the band, and when you get to the music, tell them where they can buy the music, where your music can get streamed, when the track you sent is going to be released, if it's a future release or it's just been released. You don't want to know that your granny once went to school with Mary Berry and taught her how to make cakes. That's not relevant. Might be interesting to you, but not to the people who listen to my radio station or any other radio station, in fact. You have to stick to the point, stick to the music. Another important factor is to write the press release in the third person so that somebody can actually read it out, okay? So you don't write, "We are the Bill Bloggs Band, a rock band from Liverpool." You write, "The Bill Bloggs Band is a rock band from Liverpool." The other thing is, once you have written the material out, give it to somebody else to read back to you. Two reasons for that. First of all, you might spot some spelling mistakes because they'll say, "Hang on a minute, you've got this wrong." And the other thing is, it might be difficult to read. If you type something out, you read it in your mind. When you physically read it out, sometimes your mouth doesn't work properly. Or rather, the words don't work properly in your mouth. So it's worth having somebody to read it out and say, "No, that doesn't sound right. That's not, if somebody reads that on the radio, it's going to sound a bit weird." So read it out yourself before you send it. Now, the other thing is, this is a piece of paper. Obviously, you're not going to send a piece of paper. You're going to send an email. The best thing to do is to create this as a PDF file, because everybody can read PDF. If you put it as a file such as a Word file, not everybody has got Word, but everybody will be able to read a PDF file, so put it as a PDF file. So we've covered your music, we've covered your photo, we've covered your press release, then any other bits of information, that's what's coming next. Now basically, in this context, we're talking about links to your website, social media, Bandcamp, Spotify, anything like that, okay? Put it as a link. But don't just put a logo of, say, the F for Facebook and embed the link expecting somebody to click on it and then it jumps to the page. What you need to do is type them all out in full. www.facebook.com/BillBloggsBand. So it's in full. The reason for that is that somebody can then read it out completely, okay? Because you can't click links on the radio, funnily enough, but if you write something that somebody can read, you might get a chance of them reading it out. Now, this might be a bit too late, but when you're setting up websites and other social media accounts, try to set it up so that the name on there is readable and makes sense, okay? If you're the Bill Bloggs Band, hopefully you'll get billbloggsband.com, okay? Sometimes though, if you go on Facebook, lo and behold, there's 25 other Bill Bloggses. So then you have to be creative and put Bill Bloggs Band Official or Bill Bloggs Band Music, something like that. It's trickier when you've got YouTube, because unless you're a really big act, you'll end up getting a load of numbers from YouTube, X, Y, Z, 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 1, 1, 1, which is impossible to read. So if you do get to have a YouTube channel, what you should do to put on the press release is to create something called a tiny URL. Go to tinyurl.com and that will change a long URL, such as the silly names you get from YouTube, into something short. And you can customize it. So it's, for instance, you can put tinyurl.billblogsingle. Then somebody could actually read that out and it makes sense. So you got your 4 pieces of information ready, all right? You got your music file, which you've named properly. You got your cover art, which you've named properly. You've got your press release and you've got your covering material. The covering material could be at the bottom of the press release, actually. You've got it all typed out. Now, how are you going to get into them? Now, if you send stuff by email, a lot of people won't accept it because they think that there could be viruses attached. So the best way to do it is to create a folder, put everything in that folder on your desktop so it's there ready for when you need it. And then you can upload that folder to something like WeTransfer or to Google Drive, something like that, or Dropbox, and then have that ready to include the link in your email to the radio station. Now, to the radio station, your press release, you can actually copy and paste it in, and they can read what they're going to get there. Similarly, with the covering material, you can put that there. And depending on the email system, you could embed a photo of your cover art, so that people can actually read this and say, oh, right, okay, well, this is what this is about. And then at the bottom or at the top, you can say, here's a link to Dropbox, WeTransfer, whatever it is, where you can download the copies of the music file and all these documents. That way, your email is not going to be rejected, and some systems object to attachments. Now, my site is different. I take attachments. I risk it. So you can send stuff to me. I don't mind. So I hope you find that all useful. Very simple. It's not brain surgery. Anybody could do it. And you can do it as well.